Okay, so if you're trying to break into a career in data or finance, you've definitely been here. You see all these different tools out there, and it feels like everyone has a really strong opinion on which one you absolutely have to learn. It can get super confusing really fast.
Right? The big debate always seems to be, should I become a SQL master or a Power BI wizard? Or should I just double down on the one and only the trusted powerhouse Excel? It honestly feels like you have to pick a side in this epic battle of the tools.
But here's the thing, the real answer, the one that really unlocks how modern analysts work, is that you need all three. See, they're not actually rivals fighting for the top spot. They're a team. They're a stack, where each tool has its own unique and totally essential job to do.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we're going to look at the absolute foundation of any analyst toolkit, which is SQL. Then we'll see how Power BI builds on top of that for all the cool visualizations. After that, we'll see where good old Excel fits in for exploring data. And finally, we'll pull it all together and see why this stack is just so important for your career.
Every great project needs a solid foundation, right? Well, in the world of data, that foundation is SQL. Its one and only job is to create a single source of truth that everyone can trust.
Because let's be honest for a second, real-world data is a complete and utter mess. It's coming in from all these different systems. You've got typos, duplicates, missing information. It's just chaos. And you absolutely cannot build a reliable report on top of that mess.
And this is where SQL comes in and becomes the silent hero of the whole operation. It acts like the data's backbone. It takes in all that messy, raw information, cleans it up, applies all the important business rules, like how do we know if a payment is overdue, and it spits out one clean, governed, and trustworthy data set. One that the entire company can actually rely on. And you can really see the transformation right here. Before SQL, you have inconsistent text like bank transfer with a lowercase t. SQL standardizes that. You have missing information like a null status. SQL can fill that in using a rule. But here's the most powerful part. SQL can create brand new, super useful fields like this age bucket that didn't even exist in the original raw data. That is a total game changer.
So, once SQL has built that solid as a rock foundation, we can start moving up the stack. And the next layer is the dashboard, where we bring all those high-level insights to life with something like Power BI.
You can think of Power BI as the interactive presenter of the group. It plugs directly into that clean, pristine data that SQL prepared, so no more messy spreadsheets, and it turns it into these beautiful, live visual dashboards. And these aren't static reports, you know? They're living, breathing tools that get shared with all the decision makers. A finance director, for example, doesn't have time to sift through thousands of rows of data. They open their dashboard first thing in the morning and bam, this is what they see. A big, bold number right in their face. 450,000 pounds in payments that are over 90 days late. That number immediately grabs their attention and forces them to ask the next logical question, which is, okay, where is this problem actually coming from? And this is where Power BI just shines. With a single click, that director can drill down into the data. They can instantly see that Scotland is the biggest source of the problem. This is what we mean by interactive insight. It's a conversation with your data, not a flat, dead report. And now we get to the final tool in our stack, the one everybody knows and loves, Excel. But in this new world, it plays a very specific and important role. It's our sandbox for exploring those one-off scenarios. Now, this part is absolutely crucial. We are not using Excel as our database anymore. That's the old, broken way of doing things. Instead, we're using it as this flexible personal sandbox. An analyst can just grab a small, trusted slice of data from Power BI or SQL, drop it into Excel, and start doing quick personal calculations and what-if analyses. So remember, the director saw the big picture in Power BI. But now, a credit controller on the front lines gets a very specific question from their manager. Hey, what happens to our numbers if client B finally pays that 20 grand tomorrow? You see, this isn't something you need a whole new company-wide report for. It's a specific, tactical question. And this is the perfect job for Excel. You don't need to build a new dashboard. You just need a simple, familiar formula in a spreadsheet to model that scenario out. And just like that, you have an instant answer. It's fast, it's flexible, and everybody already knows how to use it. So we have the foundation, we have the dashboard, and we have the sandbox. Now let's put it all together and see how this creates a really smooth, modern workflow for an analyst.
Okay, check out how this flows through a typical day. At 2 a.m., while everyone's asleep, SQL is doing all the heavy lifting automatically, cleaning up the data. That means when managers log in at 8 a.m., their Power BI dashboards have already refreshed with perfect, clean data, giving them an instant, accurate picture of the business. Then, maybe at 11 a.m., an analyst gets one of those tricky questions. They can just export a trusted piece of data into Excel and get to work with total confidence. See how each tool just hands off perfectly to the next? So why is it so important to think about these tools as a stack? What's the big deal? Let's just boil this all down to the one key takeaway you need to remember.
Here it is. This is the mantra you should take away from this. SQL governs the data, making sure it's trustworthy. Power BI visualizes that data, turning it into insights everyone can share. And Excel explores it, letting you do flexible, personal analysis. Govern, visualize, explore. It's that simple.
And this isn't just some abstract, technical idea. This workflow delivers exactly what businesses are desperate for: accuracy, which comes from that governed SQL data, insight from the interactive Power BI dashboards, and the ability to take action with those quick models in Excel. It all comes from working off of one single version of the truth, and that is why employers value people who understand this stack so highly. So the final question I'll leave you with is this. I want you to take a hard look at how your team works. Are you building a connected, reliable data stack where every tool has a clear purpose? Or are you just building a giant, messy pile of disconnected spreadsheets? Because the answer to that question makes all the difference.